This is Mary from Rocky Mountain Gardens, and I am here today to demonstrate for you how I plant a fairy garden. This area underneath this blue spruce tree that I have in my yard is actually going to be for my two grandsons actually, and I have a little bench for them, lots of other little fairy things. So this is going to be their little special area. And I'm going to start with this large fairy garden, and I'm going to plant a few items in this pot. I have a polka dot plant. I have a coleus, a very small one that's growing right here. And then I've also placed a little shoe house, like there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. That's here in the garden. And then I do have this is a begonia that will flower in the shade here. So I'm going to place this one here. So I'm going to go ahead and plant the plants first, at least these two to start. And let's see. I want to begin by putting in some flower tone in this area, so we have some nutrients for them. And I will work it in to the soil. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the I'll put the polka dot plant in first. Just making a little space for it. And you can see the roots are a little bit beginning to circle the bottom of the plant. So I'm going to pull them out so that they will root better in the new pot. And we'll make sure we have it at the right depth. And then tuck that plant in. Next, I'm going to plant the begonia. And I'm going to loosen up the roots a bit on this plant as well. Okay. Oops. Now, I also have some, this is a creeping speedwell or Veronica plant, and I have several of them in here. I'm going to plant 2 or 3 into this pot to give it a little greenery. So again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plant maybe 2 over here and 1 here. So I'm going to add some flower tone to those areas. And I will just dig that in a little bit into the potting soil. And then we'll release, this is actually a 6-pack, so we will release the plants gently. So here's 1, 2, and number 3. Sometimes these plants, because they're creeping plants, they'll get kind of tangled up in a six-pack with the leaves and so on. And you can see the roots are quite tangled and dense. So I want to break that root ball apart a little bit to encourage the roots to grow out into the soil and spread better. So I'll do that with each of these. And then we'll just tuck them in. That's the extent of the planting that I'm going to do in this pot. As you can see, it's not really a large amount of plants. I have noticed that some gardeners who do fairy gardens pack their pot with plants, and they put in maybe one fairy and one or two little cute I guess I would call them little decorations in the pot. But I prefer fewer plants and more decorations. So I really love this little gate that you can see here. I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to put in a few little stepping stones, and these are just the little like river rocks from my garden that I had lying around. And we'll just tuck them in so they look like stepping stones. Coming into the fairy garden. And then I'm going to add some fairies, of course, and some other decorations. So I like to keep all of my fairies and the decorations in this little container over the winter. So in the fall, I'll remove them from the pot and I will wash them off, dry them off, and put them back into this box for storage. Now, I like my things to hold up for a number of years, and as I've shown you in some other videos, I do repaint some of my items for my garden decorations because it, you know, I get many more years of life from them. And I also sprayed all of these with a polyurethane spray that is UV resistant, just to help protect them and give them more years in my garden. So I have a little, oopsie, table and chairs that I'm going to place here. And these table and chairs came in sort of a rusty brown finish, and I spray painted them with a glossy white paint because, and I did the same thing here with this gate, because it didn't really show up in the garden very well. And so I decided, well, I'm just going to spray paint them so I can see them and enjoy them better. Now, because I have grandsons, oh, I hear a hummingbird. Oh, he's going and feeding on one of my flowers, hooray. Because I have grandsons, I've been looking for fairies and little elves that are boys. And sometimes they can be hard to find, actually. But I've got some really cute ones here. I'm just going to place them around in my garden. And oh, even better for my grandsons, I found a knight and a little fairy king with a sword. I'll put him over here. And you can just place your your little characters wherever you like in the garden. I wanted to show you that I also was able to find a couple of dragons. And I have to say that my favorite place for finding fairies and all the decorations is Michael's. They have the best selection. I found this little shoe house there, and so I can, place these little creatures around in the garden wherever I like. What's actually going to happen is my grandchildren are going to come over here and probably play with them, so they'll be moving them around. I do have a little girl fairy, and I'm going to place her on one of the chairs, and I have a little sign for my garden, and then I have a Pegasus. Isn't that really cute? So that's basically my garden right here. I just love it. And again, it doesn't have a ton of plants, just enough to give it some color. And then all of the decorations and a little house. Now I actually have other plants in this area because I have more fairy accoutrements left here in my box. So I do have this pot that I actually whitewashed earlier in the winter time, and I'm going to add this to my fairy collection and plant some plants in here. And you can see I have a little castle, and more of my fairy the fairies and the decorations will go in here, and I'll just place something around in each of these different little pots so that it's a fun little play area for my grandchildren. And I just love this. I just think it looks wonderful. I'll give you a better close-up of it in a minute here, but anyway, you can see it's quite easy. If you go to Michael's on the days they have their 40% off sales for fairy decorations, you can pick up quite a few things, and it won't even be overly expensive, and you can just enjoy decorating your fairy area. And if you have small children of your own or grandchildren like I do, it's just a wonderful thing for them to enjoy. So I can add in a few more things. Here's this is a darling fairy, a little boy who's fishing. I like this one a lot. So I'm going to place him right here, I think. Looks a little crowded, but my grandchildren will love it. They'll have so much fun playing with it. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and like I said, I'll give you a little close-up of the garden here before I sign off. Thanks for watching again, and until my next video.